So, good afternoon, ladies and gents, and welcome back to the course. Today we are going ahead with visual communication. As you can see, this is the representation, and I. Okay, so what will we speak about? First of all, we will speak about the modern era of pictures and the pictorial turn itself. And so what it means that nowadays there has been a pictorial turn, meaning that from verbality we have straight away moved into pictures. This is how we communicate. This is how we actually kind of let each other know of information nowadays. This is how nowadays, Facebook used to have these what's on your mind kind of captions. We no longer use those because we share what's on our mind in a picture and imagistically, which is a really big kind of turn. And we can see it as well that in 2016 the most kind of exciting and the most popular app was Snapchat, and that was all about visual storytelling, because you could upload a snap. I'm not really familiar with this one because I've never been on that website, or that app was not downloaded by me, but there you could be visually telling your story with like this 24-hour option. I know about it because later Instagram stole the show, and also Facebook, so did Facebook. And so now Snapchat I don't think is used that often anymore, or I think the app is rather dead, because Instagram stole all the functions. But what I'm trying to say in here is that we are either communicating in static images or we make like continuous imagistic communicational bits of our day, our opinions, whatever happens to us. We are just practically sharing a story, and then all the better if it's just there for a little while, because we can just post something silly and then forget about it. It's just really how we communicate nowadays. The role of images within argumentation, we will speak about it, and what a proposition is, and how images are capable of conveying messages, propositions, statements, allegations, unlike verbality, or really not similarly to verbality. And last but not least, the verbalization of the proposition, whether it's needed or not. So if you've got a visual proposition, do we need to translate it verbally in our heads or not? And my answer will be no, and many other researchers' answer will be no, even though there are a lot of kind of tips and tricks by others that we should do that, and there is a lot of conflict within literature regarding visual rhetoric, and I'm just surprised, really. So the first surprise regarding visual rhetoric was that rhetoric, as I mentioned in the previous video, rhetoric is all about ancient studies, and it's connected to everything from philosophy to psychology to theology to practically every linguistics, mathematics, everything that you can possibly imagine. My hair is in my mouth, sorry. And so for some reason, even though rhetoric has been 2,500 years old, this discipline right here, visual rhetoric, has not been, or had not been actually recognized until the 1970s. It's a shock, isn't it? And there, just by absolute, chance, there was a rhetorical conference in the United States, and there the scholars started thinking that, okay, but the fact that we only kind of define rhetoric within the frameworks of verbality, it's just not good anymore. And how about maybe extending it a little bit, because visual communication and communicating in images just became really, like crucial and very much spread. And so they started saying, how about expanding the definition so that it can be applied to visuality as well? And this is when Mitchell actually started to come up in the 1970s with the idea that we are living in a pictorial or imagistic turn, and the images have started to take over words, and they started to kind of make the whole show, to dominate the whole show practically, and it's just like they are the focus. Now, Gombrich, he's an exciting one. He started off denying the power of images, or at least the propositional value of images, and later on he retraced his own ideas and writings, and he actually admitted to the fact that images can actually convey very clear and important messages. So he's a tricky one. But back in the day, he used to believe that, okay, images take over the written words, but what can an image know, or what does an image know compared to a word? What kind of possibility is this for communication? Can we consider visual rhetoric as a rhetoric, or is it just visual communication? So can it actually intend, and can it actually kind of, like say something, suggest something, recommend something, say something, state something, or is it just like a piece of ornamental kind of piece of beauty, a piece of something that will move your emotions and not your logic, or not your rationality, or not your way of thinking? And at the beginning, this was the idea. So many people were saying that visual rhetoric was some sort of a paradox. It's like visuality and rhetoric, so like pictures and allegation, pictures and stating something, saying something, clash. It's not a discipline, it's not a thing. Perelman and Tütaker started off exclusively focusing on the discursive means of rhetoric. They only focused on verbality. Emren and Grutendorst also considered argumentation to be necessarily verbal. They always said that, like, no matter what, rhetoric can only refer to verbality. Waltrip claims that an argument is inherently discursive and linguistic, so there is no possibility for the visuality to state something or claim something, because an argument will always be some sort of a linguistic bit. And then Tolmin also suggested that reasoning could not exist in the absence of language. These were the people who opposed visual rhetoric. And when I started off doing my own PhD research, I was shocked. I was like, I didn't think that there were people who actually believed, looking at images, saying that this is the end of the 1980s, 90s. And so I thought that, like, who would question it that images can also state, or images can also communicate? And I thought, like, this is not a possibility. And I started reading the literature, and I noticed that, like, wow, there are so many people who are still opposing the fact that images say and show and well, manipulate sometimes and convince and things like that. So it was shocking for me. And so showing you some positive examples who believed in images from the very start. One of them was Einstein, and he's a good one to rely on. He believes in so many things that so many of us do. And he started saying that the words, or the language itself, as it is written or spoken, do not seem to play any role in my mechanism of thought. So he said that he does not think, never does he think in language. He thinks in images, and whenever he had some sort of a huge revelation, then he would always, have a mental image about them. And he says pictures are the ordering elements of my thinking. So he is thinking in images. And I'm wondering, like, we do as well, don't we? I'm not sure about you. But whenever I needed to study for something, for an exam or for something, I always remembered that, like, oh, this stuff was on the right upper corner next to the picture, and this stuff was on the, I'm not sure, page 64, and right in the bottom right corner or something. And I think we are inherently visual. Our memories come visually. By a smell or by something, a picture occurs in your head. We're dreaming, we're thinking in images. It's just so, and also it shows that images are going to be so much more, more important in visualizing things and in thinking about things and remembering things and memorizing things. It's just really, really important. So let's go with some positive examples still, apart from Einstein. We've got Leo Grock, who believes that visual arguments can contain a premise and conclusion structure. So practically, he starts kind of showing that the image takes over the written word and it knows everything that the written word knows, but it knows it better. So Grock was saying that, like, it does also have like a premise conclusion structure. It can argue just as words. It's just that it's still a touch more creative, more memorable, more vivid, more present. It's just going to be way more. And then Aspasia asserts that images contribute directly to the communication of premises and conclusions. So there is another one. We've got another man who actually believes that a premise and conclusion, so a statement, like a syllogism, a statement structure can be done visually as well, which is a good piece of news. I believe in that. So I'm not sure if there was somebody else sitting in my seat right now teaching you something about this. They might be on the opposing side. So I want to show you both sides. It's just that I am very much openly biased towards this one, and I'm sorry about it if you're not. It's just that that's what I think that that images can argue. If you support the other bunch of researchers still, that's not a problem at all. Sorry for being very, extrovertedly very much biased as well. Okay, so what sort of functions does language have? It has to express. So there has to be a symptom. It has to express. Images can express as well, in my opinion. It has to appeal, appealing to emotions, appealing to fear, appealing to appealing to emotions, to threatenings. I said that already. To a higher authority, to anything, and it can appeal, and the image can appeal as well. You have to see, for example, how both political sides are framing. For example, let's go with the migration kind of process. The liberal side will visually appeal to pity, appeal to misery, appeal to, there is a crying mother holding a baby, not being able to enter the fence and suffering a lot. This is the liberals are always appealing to crying, appealing to everything. The conservatives, they will appeal to fear. They will be that, like, we have got our borders closed, and they will be showing men like really like well-built, scary men who are kind of flooding into the country, and we have to stop this. And the conservative side will visually also appear to threat. So you can see that the liberal side will be showing, like, appealing to pity, showing crying mothers, females all the time, little babies all the time. The conservative side is going to show you well-built, strong men who are trying to, mainly young ones as well, who are trying to enter the country. So practically, appealing is also, you can appeal to pity in verbality as well, but visually, absolutely. And then description, so symbolizing something within verbality, of course you can do that, but I'm going to say that within visuality, you can do that too. Okay, you can describe things really easily. Now, there are three types of counter-arguments or oppositions towards the notions of visual communication. One of them is going to be that images are generally really vague and arbitrary and ambiguous. So you look at a picture and that one is going to be vague. You don't know the proper meaning, who is going to be portrayed. You don't understand what the image really wants. You don't understand, maybe, for example, tenses. Did it happen in the past? Does it refer to the future? Is it happening right now? You don't understand the proper meaning, so they definitely will be vague and ambiguous. Now, visual communication contains no propositions. This is the other one. So there is no propositional value, meaning that there is no allegation. It cannot state. A proposition is going to be a true or false statement, but I will go into it later. And then last but not least, some people say that even though pictures can argue, okay, let's say that they do have a propositional value, let's say that they are not vague and ambiguous, you still need to translate images in your head to verbality. So there is a linguistic translation needed. I think it's completely insane, but that's just my opinion. So you look at a picture and you cannot understand it until you verbally say something in your head about it and translate the image into language in your head. These are the three counter-arguments, and I was very interested in this. It's also included in my dissertation, how images argue and whether these counter-arguments can be answered, and they could be. Let me show them to you. Number one, vague and ambiguous. So many people kind of attack visuality that you don't understand what it's trying to say. And so Grok No, it wasn't Grog, it was Gombrich, sorry. Gombrich was talking about this example, it was his favorite example, that like the cat is on the mat, and Gombrich was saying that like visuality cannot express specific things, so we don't know if it's a cat or the cat. We do not know if it's a specific cat or not. We do not know tenses by visuality, so we do not know if it was sitting, is sitting, or will be sitting on the mat. And so Gombrich was saying that even just a very elementary, simple example as this, that the cat is on the mat, can be said verbally really easily, and visually it's just, we just don't know it. Is it a proper, like, is it a real cat or an imaginative one? Is it a cat or the cat? Was it, will it, is it sitting? We don't know. And so the answer to this was that, okay, ambiguity occurs within visuality, but of course without the context, verbality could be really ambiguous and vague sometimes as well. For example, if I ask you the population of Hungary, you will say that it's 10 million people, or together with our people outside of the borders, it's 15 million Hungarians. But it's completely fine to say 15 million, because we don't have to say that it's 14,700,085 or something, people. We don't go into really determinative numbers, and it's okay. It's not a problem in an average conversation. So the context will allow you to be specific or not. Or if somebody asks you your age, you will not say that I'm 23 years old, 7 months, 2 weeks, and 3 days old. You don't say that, and it's okay. Sometimes it's okay to be vague a little if the circumstances allow you to. And that will all depend on the context. Phew, I'm speaking so much and so fast, and I'm drying out, sorry. So, determining children's age, that's a different story, because they will always say that I am 6.5 years old. They will go specific, because in their age, it's just, an extra half a year will come with a lot of extra benefits, such as you can stay up a little longer, or you can just, read another bedtime story later or something. But overall, we don't go specific in language either. Majority of times, it will depend on the context, and images will go specific if they need to, and sometimes they don't. It all depends on contextualizations as well. Okay, next one. They cannot convey propositions. Now, the propositions themselves are practically declarative phrases. So information content of declarative phrases. It's a declarative sentence, and they can be true or false. So a proposition cannot be a question or an exclamation or a wish or something, no. It has to be declarative so that it can be true or false. For example, I say that the sky is blue. This one at the moment, we've got a very ugly sky at the moment. I'm pre-recording this video. So this one is at the moment, it's a proposition, and it's a false proposition because the sky is somewhat grey or something. Okay, or I can say that I am a man. And this is a false proposition, okay? So this is like a declarative sentence, and it's not true, right? So propositions are the primary carriers of true or false content. And people say that visuality cannot give you a proposition. It cannot argue. It cannot give a true or a false statement behind it. Now, I truly believe, and I normally use this example because I think WWF campaigns are excellent for proving that propositions do exist. And these ones are my favorite ones. I'm not sure how much you can see it because it's really little. It's coming up really little on the side. But it says it's a 2009 WWF campaign, and it's an imitation of a tic-tac-toe game. You know, in Hungarian we say amu, but it's like a tic-tac-toe game. You can see it. And so one slot you can see is blank. There is a blank field in it. And there is a little verbality behind it as well, saying that it's your turn. But practically we can understand the image on its own as well. Majority of times in marketing they will use both verbality and visuality so that everybody will understand. But this one would be understandable without any verbality as well, that you can go from bottom to top and then you would be choosing the crocodile to live, or you can go diagonally from the bottom to top as well, and you can choose a bag. You either choose a bag and then the crocodile dies, or you choose the crocodile and then you don't get a leather skin bag. The proposition is that you can save a crocodile by not choosing to buy real leather bag. And I understand that the proposition here could be said differently as well, and maybe some people will kind of verbalize it differently, that like it's a life-saving campaign, or it's all about animal cruelty, or it's you should choose the crocodile instead of the bag. You could be verbalizing it anyways, but there is no way it's ambiguous or vague, or that you think that it has got no argument behind it. It does have an argument about it. There is a proposition saying that like you need to save a life. Here, this one is also very important. It's a juxtaposition. So it says, it's from the Act Responsible Collection, and it goes that there is like is this a vulture? Probably. Yeah, there is a vulture sitting on a branch, and underneath, you probably cannot see it, it says frightening. And then on the other branch, there is no vulture, and it says more frightening. So practically what this one is saying, and there is a very clear proposition still having verbality in it, but if we took away verbality, it would still be understandable that like this kind of creature is going instinct, and we have to save the life. With the verbality, we also understand that it's frightening. A vulture is a big animal with a huge beak, and it's it's a dangerous animal. But it's even more frightening not to have them around, because that means that the world is just going to melt away. Next up, there is this image about this polar bear, which is, you can see it from the posture, and leaving out all the verbality as well. It's just that it's really, really difficult to find an image which doesn't have any verbality in marketing, because they just make sure that everybody understands. But this image is not decorative, or it's not an ornamental kind of image, you know. They're using it to argue, and it says that like this bear here looks like a homeless, and we are taking away the home of the bear with our stupid behaviors, you know. So it's just, there is a very clear proposition behind it. Stop like polluting the air and the oceans and everything, and stop global warming so that this animal can still have his home. And yeah, lastly, this one is a Belgian company for World Wildlife Fund, this campaign, and this is the visual structure that I've chosen for you as the last image, which is going to be fusion. It fuses together an ice cream and the globe itself, and the globe's colors themselves, and it's melting like an ice cream. So practically it is conveying a message. There is no way that images cannot propose something or state something. This is stating that our globe is melting. We need to get something done in order to stop this, because it's getting there. And then last but not least, so we've had 3 opposing ideas once again. What was that? Being ambiguous or vague? Not a problem, because sometimes verbality is ambiguous and vague. It all depends on the context. Then we've had propositions, like it's not propositional. Yes, it is. You can see it from these images very clearly. And number 3 was that images have to be linguistically translated in your head in order to understand them, and there is no way you can understand anything of a picture until you are linguistically translating that in your head. Now, this one is a stupid one as well, in my opinion. I'm sorry, that was not very professional, so I would like to counter-argue in this matter. So there was Lewis E. Wolcott, and he's had a very, very exciting example in order to kind of get rid of this whole notion that a linguistic translation occurs in your head. Now, he said that it was actually a mathematical test for mathematicians, practically, and they could not solve this problem, this mathematical problem, until they started drawing it on a piece of paper and imagining it. And I'm not sure how good you were in mathematics, when you were younger and when you were in high school. I wasn't, and majority of people do go to a communication faculty because they did not enjoy mathematics that much. But it seems like, or in my mind, I remember that in mathematics, whenever we tried to solve a problem, mainly in geometry, we first off started drawing. That was the first thing, that you started imagining things. Now, this example was that, let's imagine a large cube, made up of 27 smaller cubes. Okay, this is, I'm not sure if I've got I put it away. Yeah, so a large cube made up of 27 small cubes. It's practically, the Rubik cube, practically, if you imagine that one. I'm not sure if the foreign ladies and gents are familiar with the Hungarian invention, the Rubik cube. It's got like these different kind of sides to it, which are different colors, and you have to make the whole thing unanimous and nice. Okay, and it said that let's imagine that the whole of our Rubik cube, let's call it that way, we want to paint the entire surface some color, let's say red. Okay, we want to paint the whole thing red. Okay, and it's asking how many of the smaller cubes will be painted on one side, two sides, or three sides, or no sides at all. Okay, so let's say that we've got the large cube, 27 small cubes, and out of the small cubes, if we paint the whole surface red, how many of them will be painted on one side, two sides, three sides, or zero sides? Let's take a look. So here I'm saying the solution as well, but practically it says, let's imagine here is our cube. If you imagine that the whole cube will be painted red, it's already easier to imagine because we can see it visually. You have to see it, it's going to be so hard to point because you can't see it, but let's imagine if you take a look at the middle one, the little middle cube on each side, there is a middle cube, and that one will be painted on one side. Okay, because it's just got one side. If you take a look at the corner bits, those will be painted on three sides, each and every corner. So the corners will be practically 8 of them, 4 corners on the top, 4 corners on the bottom. Now, on the side of it, there will be practically 12 of them, which will be in the middle, painted on 12 of them painted on both sides. Those of them which are on the edges of the lines. And then 0 side is going to be the middle one little cube, which is not even visible. That's not going to be painted anywhere because the whole thing is twisting and turning around that one. Now, this example, I think it's quite complicated actually. And this exercise was really, really difficult, even for mathematicians, to actually imagine it. First of all, imagining that a large cube would consist of 27 small cubes. Like, what the hell is that? And then as soon as you know that, it's a Rubik cube, then it's easy, isn't it? And then thinking that the whole surface has to be painted. Then they started thinking that okay, now I've got the cube in my head, now I need to paint it. And then they painted it, and then they started realizing that, now I can kind of just take which one is painted on 3 sides, 2 sides, 1 side, 0 side, and it was easy. Was visualization needed? Yes, very much. They couldn't even get started until they started drawing. Was language needed? No, not really, because you just take a look and there is no way in hell you're going to be kind of explaining that to your head, like whatever is happening. And if you think about it, another thing that's also a proof, it says that we understand, all research is saying something different, but whenever we are just taking our phone and rolling around on Instagram or anything else, it says that it takes approximately 0.08 seconds, something like that, to understand a picture and to see if a picture is relevant for you or not. Obviously, you won't be able to see the image in very much detail, but just by looking at it for a fraction of a second, you will know if it's needed for you, not needed for you, if you want to take a look at it briefly or not. Practically, you wouldn't even have the time to be looking at it, understanding it further, knowing what it means and stuff like that. Okay, here comes my very good example to it, and I will have a bunch of them. It's practically a mixture of verbality and visuality once again, but I think it's a good example that you don't need to translate. It does convey a message, and it's not ambiguous and vague. This one is about hate speech, and that words have got power as well, and it's just like suffocating you if somebody is telling you the wrong words or trying to kind of, it just kills you if somebody is verbally abusing you, and words are just as bad as actions at some point. So this one is all about that. Another one will be this one, which I'm sorry about it. It's a PETA campaign and it's really, really horrible. This lady is holding, a tortured fox which has got his or its skin taken off, and it says, "Here is the rest of your fur coat." There you have it. And it's just a very shocking marketing. Like, PETA is using shock marketing all the time, but this one actually is just very much understandable, that we are kind of using the fox and killing the fox off in order to make a fur coat for ourselves, and it's not okay. Next up. Okay, this is also like a guerrilla marketing. You go to the shopping center and there is this child suffering from famine, trying to, like, beg you for some food. And whenever you are putting some items into your shopping basket, these kind of pairs of eyes are looking at you. And of course, we understand the proposition saying that the child is saying that they're hungry and they need food. So there is no way in hell that this is a decoration. It's not. It's saying something, stating something, and it's not ambiguous, it's not vague, and there is no need for linguistic translation to understand that this child is hungry, please donate, practically. By the way, I'm not sure if it's ethical to do this, or I'm between two minds, and I'm curious what you think, because it's a very good way of conveying a message, and of course it's understandable and it's super clear and super everything, but I'm just wondering, like, is it ethical to bombard people like this for charity? It's just a very, it's visuality can be a murder as well. Okay, and can be really much harsh as well in your face, but the cause is important, so obviously that's why. Okay, we can see this is also like a juxtaposition, two things put side by side, two people put side by side, having one little like difference on the picture, and it's also like a mix of verbality and visuality. But if we took away the picture and we're only left with verbality, we would notice that it doesn't make sense. So verbality without the visual doesn't really work. In here, it just needs a balance. It says, one child is holding something that's been banned in America to protect them. Guess which one? And I'm not sure if you know it. This Kinder Egg has been banned in America for a while now, I think, due to the fact that it's a choking hazard. So the little toys in it may cause choking for a child, for a small toddler. For that reason, it's illegal. But that 1 meter long Kalashnikov is just fine to be having, and a child can be holding that. Okay, you cannot hold it unless you have got some sort of. But I'm not sure. I think you have to be over 18 or over something. But that's all really. So you can be carrying a gun in America. So that's like the picture. This one is also understandable. Same dog, different owner. We can see that one owner was abusive and was mistreating the dog, and it's really painful to look at. And in the other picture, it's the same dog but in a healthy state. So the image itself is saying it all. You can understand it. And it was like a dog adoption center which was using it. Very powerful images, very good ones in my opinion, and it's easy to understand them. Oh, this one is horrible. It doesn't have any verbality, or not something I can read, but I think we understand what it says. It's a dead dog. It's a beagle. It's really super cute. For some reason, they say because beagles are hunting dogs, and their kind of senses are really, really sensitive to scents and sensitive to anything. They're often a tester dog as well, unfortunately, and so many makeup brands are using beagles in order to be testing their makeup on them. And so we understand that in order to have these blushes and lipsticks and everything, this dog died. And this is practically an anti-animal cruelty campaign, and I think it's pretty much understandable. There is not much need. See here, for example, without the text as well, we were perfectly fine to understand it. And then lastly, this one is an anti-smoking campaign. This lady is spending her 42nd birthday looking like 80 or 90 years old and lighting a cigarette from the cake. And so it just shows that the cigarette will make you have premature aging, and your skin and everything will look horrifying, and you will look double the age than what you are. Oh, and there is the last one as well. Sorry, I've forgotten about it. This one, we already understand, but this one is also kind of like a mix of verbal and visual communication or rhetoric. And it says that, like, reserved for drink drivers. But we understand that the drink driver will be parking their car crashed into a tree. So practically, I think visuality, and especially these good marketing advertisements and stuff like that, these are very much super understandable, and there is no need for any further explanation. Sorry, I keep adding more images. I thought this one was the last one. Yeah, okay, this one has got no verbality behind it, as we can see, and practically it's also an anti-smoking. Sorry, smokers, it's always like animal cruelty or smoking campaigns that you find the most creative ones at. And so this one is like, cigarettes are like bullets in a gun, and just like, it's like shooting yourself anytime you smoke a cigarette. So it's pretty much understandable, not ambiguous. It carries a proposition that smoking kills, and you don't need to translate it in your head verbally. You just look at it, and straight away you've got the signified connection in your head that like a gun is a danger, and then cigarettes must be a danger too. So it's just like super easy. Okay, I wanted to show you a visual storytelling as well, but I will show that one to you. Please make sure that you show me or tell me that like I need to be showing you a very, very good video. It's just that I don't want to kind of like break any rights either. And then lastly, because this would be a repetition, I wanted to show you. We won't take a look at these images. I've got some extra images for you, but I will just give it to you as a homework later. But practically visual rhetoric and all this, what are we talking about? Because we still have got a few more minutes as well. I wanted to talk to you about it, that there is a visual framework to interpret and produce these visual artifacts and these visual kind of propositions rhetorically. And we can say that the human understanding is capable of treating visual messages really well as well. Lastly, I wanted to introduce to you a framework which I was also using in my dissertation. I really enjoyed it. And this practically is the product, procedure, and process kind of an approach, the 3 Ps. Visual communication, in my opinion, highly relies on this framework of the 3 Ps, and I'm going to tell you what they mean and what they are. So practically, let's see the product first. Product, procedure, process. That's all we need. The product point of view. From the product point of view, visual rhetoric is equivalent to verbal rhetoric. It's practically, you take a look at an image as a product. You have a look at it. For example, here is my teacher's book. You take a look at it as a product, and you see that like this is a purple, pink, it's really tasteless by the way, purple, pink, yellow something, in which there are larger flowers in here, smaller flowers in here. The flowers are on the right side of the image, and that's all, and this side is like empty. This is all as a product. When you try to describe a picture, you don't see why it is, who did this, why they did that. You don't see like any kind of procedures behind it, like what was the cameraman or what was the painter thinking, and you don't think about anything else, that like what was the effect it tried to reach, or what is the message, something. No, the product is just treating the image as it is. You look at it and you describe as a product what you can see. Okay. In the language exams, we often start off like this. We start off with the image as a product. You get a product in your hand, you get an image, and you say that like, in the picture I can see 3 people talking. One of them is wearing this, the other one is wearing that. Okay, so they're sitting around a table. This is like talking about visuality as a product, as just like describing what there is. Now, talking about visual verbal messages. Okay, as a product, for example, for this one, of course, you're already thinking about what it might mean or what it may be, but you don't need to. If you treat it as a product, you will just say that there are 2 people in this image. The image is black and white. The man is shouting or like opening his mouth, and there is a hand coming out, grabbing the hair of the lady. The lady is suffering, the man is angry. That's all that the product is. You don't see behind like why or who are these or what it interprets as. You don't. The product is just like looking at it. Now, visual rhetoric as a product is functional. Okay, it's just to decode what there might be, just to not interpret, just to say, just to see what's in the picture. That's all you need right now. Now, visual rhetoric as a procedure. The procedure is going to be practically the logic of seeing, visualizing, understanding what the perspective of the creator was. Okay, so it's really important. For example, in here, if you take a look at it from a product point of view, you will go, this is a black and white picture, it shows a staircase, there is a man into it. This is only the product. But if you take a look at the point of view as a procedural point of view, the procedure will also say that, like, what was the creator of the image thinking. And here, it's like the procedure will be all about zooming, angles, showing from underneath to upwards, or showing from above downstairs. It's like all about the logic of the cameraman. And it means so much, because the procedure will kind of create a thought in your head. No wonder all the big dictators, Stalin as well, and Hitler as well, and all these people, they were always shown procedurally from downstairs above, so that they are more powerful, scary, they seem bigger as well, they seem taller as well, and more, like more bulky. And that's like a very big procedure. Or for example, in political rhetoric, treating it as a procedure, looking at an image, often politicians are shown like really zoomed in, so that when they're talking, so that you can see the little mistakes of the face, you can see the wrinkles. They want to seem very much average. They want to seem one of you, one of us, that like, oh, I'm just only human, and I've only got the same flaws in my face as you do, and I'm just the same person as you are. So practically, they're playing with the proximity, they're playing with angles, they're playing with everything, and this is the procedure of the image. And last but not least, I hope you understand it so far, product was treating it like describing what's in the picture. Procedure is thinking about what the creator, cameraman, painter, anybody, was trying to show you with the logic of the camera. Angles, zooming, proximity, using black and white or using colorful, maybe like, focusing on something whenever, there is like a murder scene, and the camera suddenly zooms onto a sword or a knife on the wall, that one it just will be used in a moment. Okay. And lastly, rhetoric as a process, this is the last one. It's like, it practically says that, visual rhetoric has got an effect, and the process is referring to all kinds of intentions and effects that an image has got. For example, what sort of an effect does it have? Let's take a look at from the beginning. Product. As a product, we can see a purple room, which is really muddy. It's got 2 shelves there, a bed, and a doll, which is lying on the floor, covered in mud. Product. Procedure. The camera is showing one corner of the bedroom, which is like it's showing it from above pointing down, and in the focus, in the middle of the picture, there is this doll. Okay, and it looks really realistic. Okay, and last but not least, as a process, so what the intention of the picture is, and what the effect is that it's trying to make you, feel or something. The effect is that they're showing at a doll as if it was a real baby. This picture is coming from Hurricane Katrina, when it kind of hit the coasts of Ohio in the United States in 2005, if I'm not mistaken. And so this picture is coming from there. And practically, there is no death depiction within the media, or at least you shouldn't be depicting dead people. But this one, the effect shows as if it was a real baby, and the effect they're trying to give, or the intention of the picture, is that we imagine a real baby in the position of the doll, which did happen because so many little ones were swept away by the hurricane. So practically, the intention of the picture is that we imagine the suffering of the real people. It's just like showing the suffering. Even though it's a doll, it's not a problem. That's the process, okay? So product is first of all the image description itself, procedure is the logic of the cameraman, and then the process is practically the intention, the intended effect of the picture. And this is what it is. What is the conclusion for today, ladies and gentlemen? Oh my god, so many minutes. Okay, so we have entered the visual age. Rhetoric is as much of a visual art as a verbal art. It's very important that we accept it, in my opinion, that we accept it, that the visual turn has appeared, has occurred. We are thinking in images, and the visuals also have an expressive function. And Nyíri says, a large, huge Hungarian professor of visual philosophy, saying that after centuries of the reign of the written word, in the new worlds of imagery and sight, we are witnesses of the revival of visual rhetoric. Now, ladies and gents, thank you so much for your attention. We're moving right into Teams and continuing chatting about it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.